There's only 2 episodes left.
Three more weeks, I think.
How many of the? Oh yeah, I guess the last episode is gonna
It'll
be
be it'll be the final 8,
and then
final 7, final 6, final 5.
1,
so 4 episodes
2,
probably.
3, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, if you know what we're talking about, then you obviously are a fan of Survivor because we are
we're
here
live.
to talk about Survivor 45. We're Geeks with Kids, or GWK. I don't know. I still don't understand our branding. We'll figure it out one day.
I wanted to just say GWK, but then the problem is I think everyone's just going to be like, you're Gawk.
We're
The fuck is Gawk?
Quick.
Oh, or you're Guac? Are you Mexican? Like, ugh.
You know what's funny is that a lot of the stuff that we've talked about here is like my kids are getting old enough. They're like, oh, I am sort of getting interested in these things that you watch, like Survivor and stuff. So I'm like, yes, this is, even though I'm not going to include them on the podcast because fuck that. They need to go to sleep.
I wish you're the only person I know that's obsessed with the show like I am, or not. Maybe not to the level that I am, but you're the only person I know that like loves the show and wants to talk about it.
Well, that's a good thing.
So I'm gonna be gushing.
I feel
today.
like this is a good place to start because a lot of people like we're old enough to have seen the first season, even though a lot of people on the show this season were not even born. But like when the first season came out in 2000, it was fucking everywhere. I was working at Casino Niagara at the time, and it premiered that night that I was working because I worked the night shift, the night shift. And all I remember is that normally there were like tons of people at the slots or at the cards, but everyone was at the bars or at the TVs just watching Survivor. And I was like, this is the weirdest day at the casino ever. Do you remember the first time you got into Survivor?
I predate the show. Is how far back I've been a fan. I remember seeing the original casting notice for the show, and someone had written an article in the Spectator about it, and stating, like this new show that they're auditioning for. There's going to be 16 people on it, and every week, they're going to be living on an island, and every week they're going to kill one of them off. And I didn't know, because bear in mind that this time there was no such thing as reality television. Like the only thing that really existed for reality TV at that time was The Real World. So when you start hearing all these like advertisements about a show where they're going to be like basically killing people off and it's not a drama, articles are being written everywhere and speculation is running rampant. And I remember that got my interest as to what the F is this show. And then I completely forgot about it for a while. And then about the week it premiered, again, I'm going to date myself here and date the show. I got the TV guide that week. And
I remember the TV guide for this one.
As you do when you get the TV guide back then, is what I would do every week is this is before streaming. This is before just almost predates DVDs and Blu-rays and that. You would go through and flip to where the movies were for the week, and you would see what movies are on this week that I want to record on VHS. And then as I'm flipping through, I see a picture of this like big bulking guy and this tiny little girl and they're standing there and they're like, he's like hacking something with a machete. And I'm like, the image instantly caught me. And then I looked down and I was like, holy shit, this is that show. Like I completely forgot about it. It's finally coming out this week. So I set my VCR to record it. I was working at a restaurant at the time, so I was all excited. I'm like set to record. We had just moved into our new house too. I didn't have a bedroom at the time. My bedroom was literally a bunch of furniture in a square in a corner of an unfinished basement. But I had a TV, VCR, and cable all set up and ready to go. That was like the first thing. Go to work, come home. I got a big plate of chicken wings and a Caesar salad and pop on the episode to watch it and was just instantly in love. Like I'd never seen anything like it on television, and it was just instantly like I'm hooked, and it's never worn off. Like I am one of the biggest reality television junkies to this day because of this show. Like competition ones, I don't really care about I could care less about like the Real Housewife shows, but I like the competition ones. But you name it, I watch and I'm into it. And
100%. I remember like it leading up to that day, and it was everywhere. Like it was insane. And then like people talk about water cooler talk. That was the talk back then. Like it
I
was.
remember
it was-
leading up, like when the finale of the first season happened, and every single magazine, every single paper, like were all taken over by who is going to win.
Mhm.
Polls everywhere. Like you could not escape the discussion about that show at the end of the first season.
Yeah.
The massive love for Rudy in that season, even though like by today's standards, like
Yeah.
he'd be canceled in half a second, but back then he was beloved. You know, rest in peace. You know, like he's the love for that show and just how much it was pop culture at the time it's hard to explain to anyone who wasn't around at the time for that.
And it didn't really die down for a long time. It's died down in the last like 10 years, but I feel like the first 10 years of it was event TV every single year.
I wouldn't say event TV, but it's one of those shows that like it really hit. I mean, at its peak, it was 50 million people. It was Super Bowl numbers watching this show. And it dropped down, but it never dropped down to an unrespectable amount. Like it's always been a top tier show, which given that it's been on for 25 years and it's still maintaining the same numbers that it has been for most of those 25 years is pretty well, like that's insane.
There's something that people on like this season, we're on season 45, which is incredible. But there are times when people are talking and they're like, you know what? I was watching this as a kid and this was the dream that I had as a kid. Like, I can't think of a TV show. Well, maybe, what was that top arcade show that we used to watch when we were kids? Dun, 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 dun. You know that one? Video and Arcade Top 10. Yeah, that was I think that was the only TV show where it's like, yeah, I would love to go on this show. But like as a kid, but now they have generations of people, like their parents and kids watching. Now parents and grandparents and parents and kids now watching this. Like that, it's been around that long that we have that. That's crazy. That blows my mind. Speaking of that first crazy season, do you have a favorite season? Like I dropped off around 2013, I feel. And then I came back just the last couple of years because you told me to come back, I think 3 or 4 seasons ago. And yeah.
I'm hard pressed to cite a specific, like I have like a top 5. I'd be hard pressed.
What are your top 5? I want to know those then.
Millennials versus Gen X season 33.
I haven't seen that one.
Is one of the best seasons ever, and that's the season that I modeled my Survivor event after. Was the formula of that one.
To give you context of how long I was out of Survivor, I didn't know what the auction was.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Which is weird because the auction's been around since the beginning of the show, and then they got rid of it on. It was season 30. Yeah, season 30. They got rid of it because one of the contestants basically figured out how to outgame it.
Ooh, that's
and it caused a huge controversy. And so they just decided they're like, you know what? If people are going to just game the system at this point, like we're just going to get rid of it. But yeah, season Millennials versus Gen X is one of the best seasons, actually. And ironically enough, I don't know if anyone out there is watching the current the Squid Games season that's out.
Yeah, I'm watching
the Squid Games channel. One of the contestants on Squid Games was on Millennials versus Gen X, Figgy.
Oh, yeah.
David versus Goliath season 37 is probably the greatest modern day season for them to have. Going back old school, Pearl Islands I think is one of the best seasons ever. I would probably.
Was one actually called Redemption Island, or was that just?
Yes.
I remember that.
That is considered one of the most hated seasons.
Really?
I actually enjoy it.
I like that one too.
I enjoy it. I really enjoy it because I loved watching the domination of Rob Mariano in that season. Like, it was fantastic. He was so. Say what you will about how he was playing against puppets, but like it doesn't matter. Like the guy, he cruised to the end with no opposition. Trying to think what would be Heroes versus Villains is another one that I think is like a big favor for everyone. But actually, you know what? I would say my number one season of all time is probably Cagayan, the Brains versus Beauty versus Brawn.
Oh, what season was that?
That was season 28. That had, without a doubt, like one of the best casts the show has ever seen. It had twists, it had turns. It was, you never knew what was going to happen. You might want to ban that guy in the chat right
Yeah, I'm
now
doing it
while
right
I'm
now.
going on about it. Yeah. One of the greatest winners of the show ever, who played just one of the most effed up, loud, in your face, like, how the hell is this guy doing so good kind of games. It was like the first time where like someone who was literally playing the best game was also the most entertaining person on the cast. And it wasn't just him. It was like almost the entire cast. Everyone brought something to the table in that one. We had sports legends like Cliff Robinson on the season. You had David Sampson, the manager of the Marlins, who comes in trying to run the game like a baseball park and is gone right away.
That's crazy. I'm trying to think of what really stuck out. I remember Redemption Island being really, like, it was a game changer. Like, them adding that aspect was really cool, and I really wish they bring it back. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I liked it.
They've altered it. Well, they've altered it since. Like, they've created what's known as the Edge of Extinction, which is...
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's now everybody who gets eliminated from the game goes and has the choice to live on this island, and two of you get a chance to get back in at some point. Like,
fight it out.
I'm not a big fan of that, to be perfectly honest. Like, I'm an old school person. I believe you're out, you're out. It's hard to keep my focus going between it's two separate games happening at once, and it's hard for me to really like care about one group.
That's fair. I think a lot of what I remember of Survivor was the social aspect of it, not just the social aspect on the show. I mean, like, as a group of friends, we used to gather around and watch Survivor. So Australia was such a very, like, fun time because we would have parties to watch Survivor, and it was such like, and we were young back in those days when used to have lots of people go and do things like this.
My friend Jackie did the same thing. She used to hold Survivor parties during Australia, and to the point where she made a diorama of Australia with straws and toothpicks with the heads of all the contestants cut out and stuck on them. And she would order them all by height too, because I remember there was one guy, Mitchell, on that season who was like 6'8", and she made this big, massive straw, and she would just go on and on about, oh, he's just so tall and pretty. Like,
yeah, there were a lot of people that were very pretty in the Australia season. I mean, you're going to Australia, you might as well have the prettiest people. Let's talk about season 45, the current season, which started on
it'd be late
September 27th. So we've been going for a couple months now, and it's I gotta admit, this might be one of my favorite seasons. If not,
this is it's ranking up there for me. This is definitely this is the best of the new generation of the show, hands down. I think they're finally the new format for the show ever since the pandemic. With the speeding it up and trying to make it more like hyper fast and everything. I think they're finally starting to hit their stride with it now.
I like the longer episode lengths as well. The 90 minutes are they fly by. Key. They fly by.
It still flies by, but you get everything. That's what the show has been missing for so long. Is it's been so game body, so strategy focused, and so focused on like challenges and that like we lose the personal dynamics. So you lose like we don't know who these people are. Half of them are just cannon fodder. Now we're really getting to like dive in deep on each person and get to know them, and you feel more attachment to them, so it makes when they get voted out like more heart-wrenching for you.
Speaking of the 90 minutes and getting to know these people, I think where I've really noticed that was the first episode, because by the time Hannah chose to leave, I understood her plight. Like, I felt her. Like, I felt her pain. You could see it. And that 90 minutes of her just struggling the whole time, you're just like, fuck. I feel you. But still, it was a shocking moment.
See, I watched that and I was just like, I often wonder, like, I've never applied for the show. I've applied for Big Brother a couple times. I've never applied for this. I want to, but it's weird for me now because now I'm considered the old guy on the show.
Yep.
Which is a very weird thing, and it's like I don't feel like that. So, but I understand that if I were to want to get cast on the show, I have to steer in that direction. I have to make them think, oh, I'm the best token old guy for you for this reason. And then when I get out there, play whoever the hell I want. But like, I have to wonder, like with Hannah, I was like, would I be like her if I was out there and just be like, oh, you know what? It's like, this looks so much fun on television, but now that I'm out here, I don't know if I can hack it. I think I would be more like the next guy out though, Brandon. I think that's more. I would be so jazzed, so energetic. This is a dream. I will not quit. I will never quit. Like there is no chance that I would ever do that. But man, I just can't do it though.
I feel like what happened to Bruce last season when he went so gung ho that he ended up hurting himself so much that he had to get taken out. Like, I feel like that's what I would end up doing. I'd be like, yes, and then I'd be, fuck it up, and I'd be like, oh, God damn it, send me home. But
yeah, I wouldn't. Like, if I know the adrenaline's pumping and you're going to dive under a wooden board or something like that, but I'd still be like, nope, I ain't doing that guy. Nope, I don't care if I'm slower. I'm not that guy.
I wonder how we're going to do this, because this season has had so many twists and turns. Like, how should we approach this mid-season review? Like, do we want to talk about our favorite moments? Do you want to talk about each of the survivors that have gone in and out? Like, I think every single tribal council has been amazing.
Yeah,
like, this is the first season I can honestly be like, this, it's been good.
I think, well, what we could probably do is like, there's what, 10 of them that are, there's 10 that are out right now, 8 left. So I think we could probably just go through quickly, like run through the 10 that are out, our thoughts on them and things that happened in the game at the time that they were in it, and then we can spend the second half focusing on the 8 that are still in.
For sure. So, we start off with Hannah. Is there anything more you want to add from the first episode?
I was really upset when I was really, really upset when she went out, because like I understand her play, that it's like she was a big personality. I was really kind of looking forward. I forget who it was that the only reason I was so happy about it is because I knew Brandon was such a super fan, and I was like, I knew it would have been him going if it wasn't her. So yeah, that was the only kind of edge. But man, like it was just watching this tribe that you just know is absolutely doomed for the next little while.
Yeah. After the first 2 episodes, you're like, oh man, they're cutting their numbers really fast.
And the thing is this is not the first season this happened where they divide it up, and you can clearly tell when they do the tribes divisions. One tribe is meant to be like the physical powerhouse, one tribe is meant to be the mental powerhouse, and one tribe is meant to be the little rascals. Were they the rascals or the smart tribe? They were the little rascals. They were 100% the little rascals.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, almost every one of them is, like, not fit for the show, is just, like, it doesn't want to be there, is... like, there's 2 of them on that tribe that were really there to play the game hard, and everyone else was just really kind of, like, blowing everything up.
Were you talking about Caleb and Emily?
I think Caleb and Sabaya were the 2 that were, from the get-go, I was like, these 2 are going to... Everyone else is going to go away, and these 2 are going to run the gambit. Like, these 2 are going to run, much like Malcolm and Denise did in season 25, where their entire tribe got decimated right at the beginning of the show, and the 2 of them then went on to, like, basically run the rest of the game, and Denise ends up winning it after being the only contestant ever to go to every single tribal council in a season.
I was going to ask you if anything had happened like Lulu on previous seasons, because not in those seasons that I had seen had something like that happen, where...
Yeah, that would be season 25. It was the Mat Singh tribe. It was like the first 4 votes. And there was no shuffles like there was in this season. It was just they stuck it out, and it was just the first 4 votes. The same tribe went every single time.
So wait,
and then once it was down to 2.
So for challenges, were they all just 2 people challenges?
It got down to the point where it was all just 3 people competing in challenges. Like there's still 15 people left on the show, but there's only 9 people competing in a challenge because so many are sitting out.
That's crazy.
I mean, there's another one too where season 10 Palau, there was the Oolong tribe, which lost every single tribal council the entire season, to the point where the last person on the tribe wasn't even voted out. They just basically went, "You're the only one left. We're going to put you with the other tribe now." It's the only season to not feature a merge.
That's
because
crazy.
There was no tribe to merge. They just literally said, "You're on the other tribe now."
I wish there was something other than Paramount Plus for me to like go back to previous seasons and watch this. Anyway, Sabaya, any thoughts on her?
Classic just overplaying.
Yeah.
She was really smart in the first few episodes, and then as soon as she got her hands on the idol and everything started going well for her, it's just classic overplaying, just classic, I'm untouchable. You can't ever feel like that in that game. As soon as you start feeling like that game, you portray it, and everyone around you starts going, "Nah, son, no."
Yeah. Sean didn't he ask to get voted out?
Yeah, I'm. This is one where I feel like the only reason he did that was because he saw the writing on the wall and he wanted to go out on his own terms. That's how it felt to me.
I understand. I felt that way too.
Yeah.
He's been the one person I was sort of disappointed with.
Yeah, because like if it was a legit quit, he would have been saying a lot more in camp about, like, I miss my husband, I want to be home with my husband, and I think the show would have chosen to at least include some of that in the edit so that you got that sense, but when they didn't, and it kind of came and you could see it came as a surprise to everybody else when they got there, and he's like, "Hey, vote me out," and they're all looking at him like, "Wait, what?"
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just a matter of he figured, I'm going to go tonight, I'm probably going to get voted out, and I don't think he was, but I think he thought, I'm going to get voted out, I might as well, like, go out on my own terms.
I would love to see. I know they do exit interviews on YouTube. I want to see his. I just want to see what he.
If you want a good one to check out Rob as a podcast.
Yeah, that was the one that I like watching.
Yeah.
I haven't watched this season yet, so
I've been listening. I've listened to. This is actually the first season in a while where I've been listening to all of the podcasts. I've been listening to all of the Know It All episodes. I've been listening to all the recap episodes. I tend to not pay too much attention to when people are voted out because I don't want what they have to say out of the game to influence my thoughts about the players still in the game. Because a lot of times when they say when they come out, it's revisionist history. So,
I really like the episode that Rob Has a Podcast did with Kelly, because she's like, I blacked that. I don't really remember it. And I was like, oh fuck, because yeah, I understand. Brando, that was another one where I was like, okay, I saw that sort of coming.
Yeah, Brando was, to me at that point, was just kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot this guy was on the show.
Yeah, he was like the little guy. Yeah. I was like, I didn't expect him to last that long, and the only reason why he lasted was because he didn't go to tribal at that point. Jay,
yeah, basically.
Jay
Maya is another one to me. Jay Maya is another one to me that just kind of like was for the most part invisible in the show, but had a great ouster.
Yeah.
That was the first time ever that's happened.
the Caleb, the Caleb Shot in the Dark, for those that have not seen it. I don't recall that many of them becoming safe. Have any?
So only one person before this, or it might have been I can't remember if it was one or two. I think it's my recollection is only one person before him actually did pull the safe scroll, but they didn't need it. He was the first person to actually pull it that needed it. And he also negated the most votes that have ever been negated in the history of the show.
Everyone. That was intense. That was the moment.
Although I felt a little bad though, because apparently like he had the record admonished afterwards, because it came out that Austin didn't have a vote because of his idol.
Yeah. Fair.
So technically it wasn't 12 votes against him that got negated. It was only 11. So he was kind of like, oh shit, well that kills my record a little bit.
Her face though, Jay's face, she was so like the scheming that happened at as soon as the Shot in the Dark worked was so intense and awesome. I loved it. I thought that was
I love those moments in the show like that. Like
the next Sifu.
I love Sifu.
Sifu is so strange, and the fact that he named himself Teacher is really weird to me in my brain.
I
like him though. I thought he was a character.
I love a big character like that. You don't ever want to see them go long in the show because I hate I don't like when it hits the second half of the game and the gameplay really starts and you got someone acting like a fool out there. So it's like, it came around for the first few episodes as entertainment, and then yeah, I think he went at the right time.
It is also unfortunate because this was the double vote episode, so he was the one that doesn't get to be on the jury, but Caleb does.
And I'm okay with Sifu not being on the jury, to be perfectly honest. I don't see him coming in with a super well-informed opinion.
He also seemed to take things personally when he had the votes against him. Who voted Sifu? Who votes Sifu?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, okay.
And it's fine to be like that if you have any kind of power or urgency in the game where you can do something about it. But
he wasn't really
just a whine about it. Like, no.
Yeah, he wasn't really playing the people at that point. At least I don't recall him ever playing anyone.
He wasn't.
No.
He wasn't. He was literally he was playing his own game for the most part. He was playing the Tribe Strong card. Mm-hmm. I don't need to get individual, super close to everyone individually because I'm close with everyone. For sure. And it's like, no, you can't play like that.
And then there was the person that was trying to play everyone, Caleb. I like Caleb. I wanted him to go further.
Caleb was my understudy winner pick. He was not my original winner pick, but he was my understudy because I don't know to anyone out there who knows the statistics behind this, but season 39 is the first time that Canadian players with full Canadian citizenship have been allowed to play the game.
We won it.
We had Tom Laidlaw on Edge of Extinction. Did not last, or Island of the Idols. Did not last very long.
Didn't we also have a half Canadian in Australia or
Australia? Yeah, Kel Gleason was he was dual citizenship. I think there have been a few dual citizenship ones throughout the years. But then we come back from the pandemic and we hit season 41, and one of the Canadian players on that season, Erica, goes on to win the show. We go into the next season. The only Canadian player on season 2, Marianne O'Ketch, who is from our hometown, wins the show.
Yeah.
So there became this trend where, okay, if you're Canadian, you got a damn good chance. So much so that the following season, season 42, no Canadians.
The season that I came back, the one where the first Canadian won, I started watching it because you're like, you have to see this. You have to watch. You have to come back. You have to watch it. This is an amazing season. I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden, my parents are like, you know what? You should watch Survivor. I was like, why? Why are you telling me this? You don't watch Survivor anymore. They're like, oh, our friend's kid is on there. I was like, okay, well, she ended up winning that season, so that's fucking. I was like, fuck. That's awesome.
She didn't do so well on the Traders, which kind of was bad.
Oh,
I don't know if you watched that show or not.
No, I don't.
She was the first one out on Traders Canada.
Ooh.
Yeah, they were like, they were targeting previous winners of shows right away, and they were just like, she was the first one sniped.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just thought that was cool when you told me that, because I like any kind of connections. Like, I have one of my closest friends. He and I have been good friends for about 8-9 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's known this whole time, I'm a massive stan of this show. And just casually about, I think 2 years ago, he just mentioned in the conversation, he's like, oh, my cousin's a producer on that show, right?
What?
And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, she's like a field producer on the show. And he starts sending me all of these photos that she's taken of the locations and everything, because she's part of the scouting team.
That's cool.
So she goes out and finds the locations for everything, and then she's partly on site during productions and that. So I'm not getting candid behind the scenes photos of contestants or anything, but I'm getting photos that she takes from the initial assessment of the areas, and I was like,
that's pretty damn cool.
Fucking cool.
I mean, that's awesome. I want them to do a documentary, because I would love to see how they made the first season, and I would love to see the behind the scenes. The technology from then to now is it would just,
if you can find the original DVD for the first season, and there was a behind the scenes documentary on that.
I want to.
It's not a super in depth. It's more they do interviews with everyone who was involved in the show, and they kind of talk about the processes.
For sure.
Probst loves telling the story about how he got cast as the host,
and not for The Amazing Race. Or is that the backwards story?
No, that's backwards. Originally, Phil Kogan was supposed to be the host of Survivor, and then they dropped him last minute. He dropped out last minute, and they replaced him with Probst, and then Phil Kogan becomes the host of Amazing Race, which is the only one of these reality shows actually where I actually knew one of the contestants.
Oh, cool.
One of the contestants on season 4 of The Amazing Race was actually in an online Survivor game with me back in like 2002 or something.
That's incredible. Oh man. We're gonna go to another amazing tribal. And
yes, Harcroft, we still watch this show and we still love it.
Yeah, we do. I love this show. What was I talking about?
We were on Caleb at the time. Yeah, I loved Caleb so much. He was such a breath of fresh air. Like, I loved just him wearing that salesman on his sleeve and when he talks to people, and just how smarmy he was about it.
I'm not Batman. I'm Canadian. I thought that was hilarious. Oh, yeah, I liked him. And then when he got knocked down a bit and was just trying to play the field, like I thought that was good. I thought he was gonna go, but like I was hoping he wouldn't.
I honestly thought he was going to make it further. I was really surprised that he went out as early as he did. I thought for sure he was going to find some kind of inroad and make it at least a few rounds longer, but nope.
Bruce really had it out for him, like
for no reason.
Well, it's because he's like, well, you know, people like him better than me. That's the only reason why I feel like Bruce was like, I don't like him.
We'll get to Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce.
Kelly next.
Kelly
was another that was a shocker vote for me. I thought she had a lot of winners edit equity going on.
Yeah.
I didn't want her to be the winner, but I really felt like she was someone who could slip into that place. Like,
I thought she would get into like the top 5. Like I thought she would get really close to the end. So when she got voted off, we were floored. Like I watched it with my wife. We were just like, holy shit. Don't wake up the children yelling.
I kind of figured that it was going to be like Kelly, Kendra, Bruce, Jake, but I felt like Bruce and Jake were going to be the first 2 to go, and Kelly and Kendra were going to be the 2 that slipped into the end. But no, apparently not.
The commercials for that episode, like the Kelly vote off episode, they had really been pushing the girl power. We're going to go till the end, and then the fact that the turn happened,
that was a red herring, though.
Yeah. So speaking of the girl power, Kendra, the last week's episode. I like Kendra. I felt bad that she got voted. Too. I liked her.
I didn't like her enough to want to root for her to do much more, to get much further in the game than she did, but I liked her story. I love the story about her, like, you know, buying the beer at the auction to connect with her father, who she connected with over this show. Like, I thought that was like a really nice little storyline for her. But as far as like an actual like game player goes, I just felt like she was a little too irrational, a little too kooky, and not much urgency.
I liked her being on the show because she was kooky. She had
she's a great character. She's not a great player.
Fair. And then we got we're up to date. Were there any other favorite moments in the episodes that we had seen moving up to this point? I like the challenges have been really good. I like that Bruce and Julie have been like the top 2 in at least 2 physical challenges, and and them being the oldest, like that was very surprising.
Yeah. I imagine that Julie was going to do well in the one where you have to carry the weight thing, because that's tailor-made for someone like her, someone who has reasonable arm strength but doesn't weigh a lot.
Yeah.
Because like you're not carrying nearly the weight the rest of them are. So, I mean, in past we've seen players like Cochran, like the really skinny nerd who looks exactly like Drew. He won that competition for that very reason, because he doesn't weigh a lot, so he doesn't have to hold a lot.
Yeah. Drew went out really early in that one.
No, he didn't participate. He sat out to win rice for everyone.
Rice, yeah. Fair.
Which I'll get. That I think was one of my favorite moments this season. When he's asking them who wants to sit out and just casually goes, "Hey, you know what? Let me help your decision making."
Slice.
Doesn't even think. Just grabs this massive hunting knife and just shanks the bag.
That was so good. I thought that was amazing.
I was like, I'm watching that going like, oh, he practiced that for hours. He was
knew
so
that-
excited to get to do that.
He knew they were gonna to waft on it, and he was like, "This is the way. This is the way."
The only other thing in the season that I really like specifically of note I can think of off the top of my head is something that actually didn't happen but could have changed the game dramatically. Actually, there's two things. I don't know if you know about this, but there's two twists in the game that both did not actually play out on the show. Number one, in the very first episode, the winner of the first challenge got to send a representative to the tribal council for the losers, and Kendra was sent. And this was never shown in the episode because of how crazy that tribal council ended up being, with everyone wanting to like quit, or everybody wanting to like, no, vote me out, no, vote me out, no, vote me out. Her presence in it had no bearing on it whatsoever, so they just completely cut her right out of that episode.
I didn't even realize she was there.
Yep, they completely cut her out because it was like, there's no usable footage, there's no reason to show her. It had no impact. And apparently she cast a vote for one of them to go, and I think she cast her vote for Hannah or something. And then the second one was when they did the tribe swap. Brando actually, when he got his buff, found something inside of it.
What?
Pulled it out. It was a scroll, and he thought, well, I don't want to see anyone. I don't want anyone knowing that I have this. So it was stitched into his buff. So he kind of pulled it out, put it into his pocket, and then was like, I'll read this later. So they went back to camp, and apparently producers immediately pulled him aside and said, you got something, didn't you? And he's like, yeah, you want me to pull it out and read it for the camera and that? And they're like, no, give it to us.
Oh.
And he pulled it out, and he gave it back, and they said, yeah, no, it's no good now. Apparently, it was a note that he was supposed to read the swap. And they have not said what it said on it, but the speculation was that he was going to be given the chance to either swap himself to another tribe or swap out any two players. And he was like, if that had happened, he's like, I would have swapped, I think he said he would have swapped Drew with someone else so that he would have had the advantage on one of the tribes, and they would have gotten rid of Drew right away. And I was like, damn.
That's cool. That would have been.
I'm like, how the hell are you supposed to know you're supposed to read that right there? Do this. I do the same thing. If I found it, I'd be like, I don't want anyone to know I have this. But yeah, it was on his exit interview. He mentioned that. He said that he's like, they pulled me aside right away, took it from me. Oh, never let me read it.
Brutal. Oh, that. Now I gotta go back and listen to all of the episodes this season. I've only listened to a couple. That's yeah. Anyway. So the remaining people are Austin LaCoon, Bruce Perriot, I should say D, Drew, Emily, Jake, Julie, and Katura.
Yeah, I'm not. There's a few names on here where I'm just like, I'm not trying to pronounce any of that.
Yeah. That's why I gave up halfway. Do you want to go down by one, or do you just want to say your favorites and your least favorites?
I kind of almost want to because you and I mentioned that each of us has a winner pick. I almost kind of want to we go back and forth listing our the order of which we think that they're going to do well. Or do you want to start at the bottom, who do you think has the worst chance, and I'll rebuttal, and then we'll switch out.
Yeah, go. I'll go with one I don't think is going to last much longer. I don't think Katura is going to last much longer. I like her, but I don't think she's going to last much longer.
I disagree.
Really?
I disagree.
You think she has a lot of power?
No, I don't think she has any power, and that's why she's going to last.
Fair.
I think she is the person who is going to somehow slip into that final three.
She's going to be a number?
Yeah, because I think based on last week's episode, and I'll talk more about this when I go to who I think is really shot to the bottom. I think she has a good chance of replacing this person in the power structure because she is so. Yeah. What do you want? Well, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. I hate.
She's
these
also
people.
good in challenges, which is fair.
Yep.
That's
So
good.
I think that of like, if you look at the remaining, like you've obviously got the Reba four who are like really running things. You've got Emily on the outskirts of that, and then you've got the last three, and the last three don't stand a chance.
Yeah,
But I think she has the best shot of all of them of kind of sneaking in there.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah.
You have swayed me. Who do you think's gonna be the next off?
Emily's toast.
Ah, I like her too. I like her
Yeah,
so much.
I love Emily, but I don't know if she's going to be gone in the next episode or if she's going to be gone in the episode after that. But as soon as she brought up the notion of we need to, like, hey guys, maybe we should go after D.
Yeah.
No, that sealed it for her. Because the only way she can make any kind of move in the game right now is if she rallies the other three people who all hate each other and who are all vying for her position as number 5 in that group. And there's no chance that all three of them, and I think what happens is I think she brings it up, and I think Katura goes to the Reba people, and I think she says, "Hey,
Interesting.
Emily's trying to start something."
See,
and Katura slips into Emily's position.
I feel that's interesting. I could see that too, but for some odd reason I feel like Dee's gonna go out soon. She holds way too much power, and everyone.
I hope
knows
she
it.
does.
Yeah,
but I think D is going to be the first one of those 4 gone.
I 100%
I think she's the first one of those 4 gone. Actually, there is another scenario that I could see somebody else being gone, but I'll discuss that later.
Yeah, go for it. Because that's what I'm thinking. I think
my winter pick though.
I think D's going to be one of the earlier ones. I think she's going to go out of the 4 Reds, out of the 4 Rebas. I think she's going to be the next one out.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I'll discuss that when we get to like when the winter picks start, because it's a nightmare scenario thing that's been playing in my head. But I'll get to that when we get to the winter picks.
Who do you think is gonna go out next, other than those 2?
I mean, like, yeah, I think Jake and Bruce are their borrowed time.
I agree.
There's not a chance that no one is trying to make any kind of like agreements with them, because nobody wants to let either of them get further in.
I like
they're
Jake
too much
too.
they're too big threats to win challenges in the late stage of the game, especially Bruce now having won 2 in a row, and he has an idol. So I think that there's no shot that those 2, as soon as one of them becomes an option, as soon as they're both an option, they're both gone. Like, it's.
So you want me to go with who I think might win, or
Sure.
who I want to win? I wanted
Sure.
Emily to win, but I know she's not gonna win. I would love her to win. I really like Drew.
Drew is my winner pick.
Yeah. Okay.
Drew
cool.
has been my-
Okay. Good.
Drew has been my winner pick since preseason.
I didn't watch any of the interviews because I just wanted to meet him in the show.
I barely did either. The only like I used to watch every bit of content there was to absorb about these shows beforehand. Like, I would watch every interview, every video. I was one of those people like scouring the internet for like spoilers and stuff like that. Like, I was one of those guys who just wanted to know everything. And I've since changed that. And now it's like the only thing that I watch ahead of time is I watch their preseason interviews with Mike Bloom. And I watch the cast draft podcast on Robin's podcast. And that's it. And Drew was picked dead last on the RHAP list. He basically wasn't chosen. He was basically given to the last place person. And he was not picked on a lot of them, even for the same reason where everybody just looked at him and said, he's the skinny nerd. Like, he's not going to last. I mean, people are going to see GameBot. People are going to be, or that's if he even has the strength to make it through the game. You know, he's so skinny and lanky, he's weak. Like, I watched one interview with him, the Mike Bloom one, where he basically said something that I thought was one of the most introspective answers that I've ever heard, where he said, I am Drew Basile. He's like, but more than that, I am Drew. I am the person who is nerdy. I am the person who strategizes. I am the person who is socially awkward. I am the person who doesn't like hanging out doesn't like going to parties. I am the person who doesn't like going to bars. I am the person who just sits around and thinks and is in their head all the time. And he's like, but I'm also Basile. I am the guy that goes to parties. I am the guy that goes out to bars. I am the guy that walks up to a group of people, introduces myself, shakes their hands, and tells them a funny story, and everyone around me just feels that energy. He's like, I am both those people, and I know when to be which one when I'm in certain situations. And I was like, that is one of the most intelligent, introspective answers I've ever heard of somebody who this guy knows who he is and knows when to be certain aspects of himself, and that is one of the key elements to being good at that game. And I've watched him week after week. He is the one who is forming the alliances. He is the one who is formulating the plans. He is the one who, when they need extra help, he's the one who's going out and talking to Katura and saying, hey, Katura, what would you like to do this week? We'll help you out with that. Emily, like, you're all alone. I would love to work with you, And he's the one sitting back and letting Austin and Dee become bigger, visible targets than himself.
Yeah.
And I think he's playing incredibly intelligently. Yeah. He's playing such a masterful game right now. And he's not getting enough credit for it, in my opinion. Everyone still just looks at him as like, nah, he's the nerdy guy. He's the Cochran.
He's playing everyone, and it's amazing. It's so good.
Yeah.
And it's
the fact that it's Final 8 and his name has never come up on anyone's lips as he's a target we need to take out.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's your other person you could see winning?
Honestly,
would win.
Like I said, the only other person I could really see is Emily winning, even though I said that she's the next person out. And this is where the rub comes in, where I think Emily is intelligent enough to pull a move this week that could potentially put her in a position, because there is a move to be made where she only needs Jake and Bruce. And if she can convince the Reba 4 to pull in Katura and say, why don't 3 of us vote for Jake, 3 of us vote for Bruce, and then she goes to Jake and Bruce and says, I'm going to vote with you guys instead. Here's who they're putting 3 votes on. Bruce, you play your idol on that person, and then the 3 of us vote for any one of them, and it's our 3 votes versus 2 of theirs.
Do you think Bruce would give his idol up? He seems so...
I think if the situation is presented well enough to him to where it makes sense to do it, I think he would. Mm. And I think Jake is the only person he would potentially consider giving it to. He wouldn't give it to Katura. He wouldn't give it to anybody else. Jake is the only person I could see him having, because he at least had a good relationship with him at some point.
Yeah.
So I do see that as a potential thing that could happen this week. And if it does, unfortunately, I see Drew as being the number 1 target. Because Emily knows Austin has 2 idols. And they think that Austin and Dee are super close. So they may look at it and go like, he might play an idol for himself, he might play an idol for her, he might play both of his idols in the 2 of them, so we need to target somebody else that we don't think he's going to play an idol on, and they may target Drew instead. So that's me playing nightmare scenarios. Like, this is how my brain functions, this is the things that I think of, which is why I honestly believe if I was out there playing the game, I would be a really good strategic player. It's everything else that I would have to struggle to get through.
I could really see D going this week, just based on how Tribal went last week and how she pulled everything. And I feel like people might think she's too big of a threat to keep around.
I just don't see it happening, just because I don't see enough people who have the power wanting to target her yet.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like she's also a good person to bring to the end, or bring closer to the end and then get rid of.
There's no way that Julie, Drew, or Austin are going to get rid of her, because there's no way that they're going to give up an advantage. They want to get at least one more person out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going into the final 7 with only 3 people.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't mind Julie.
I think if they did that,
Julie
I think it would. As well. I think if they did that, it would solidify them with Emily, though. I think it would really solidify a relationship with Emily and really pull her back in. Mm-hmm. But that's my thing, is I think this week is I could see Emily really pulling a huge move and getting someone like Drew or Austin or something out of the game.
This week
or I think they're going to just turn on, if Bruce or Jake wins immunity. If Jake wins immunity, I think Emily is gone. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Has Jake even been close to winning immunity ever?
Not really. He talks like he is, but not really.
Um, you know what? To be honest, I would like Julie to win too. I don't think she's going to, but I like her.
I like her, but not a. It's one of those, like, again, it's like I respect her strategic thought processes in the game, but she has no agency to act upon them, which is, and that's a problem with her position, is she's allowed herself to be put down in a position where she has no agency. Yeah. But I will say that one thing I have noticed is that as Austin and Dee have been getting closer, Drew and Julie have really been eye to eye on a lot of things. Like, they've really been both fighting for the same people to go home. They've both been, like, kind of being pushed aside a little bit because of this. So I do see a situation very soon where Drew and Julie are like, all right, one of those two's got to go.
You know what I'm thinking? I wonder if we live stream the last episode. Who's going to get mad at us?
Well, I mean, as long as you don't VOD it, I'm just more looking at when is the last episode.
1, 2. It depends on how they, if they do any more surprising things.
Well, here's the thing. They usually the final episode is the final 5. Yeah. So and so let's see. This week is the 29th is the final 8. When the 6th would be the final 7.
4 more episodes, right?
So probably the 20th. The only issue that I have with doing the... Yeah, I might be working like 2 shifts at work that day. So.
We'll let the people know, because this season is so good. I would love...
It's been really good.
If we can get a bunch of people on just to react to it. Yeah. I feel like I can get a couple more people on here. Just be like, holy fuck.
I still too want to get you into the Australian version of the show.
I started watching it 1 or 2 seasons ago, and then it was just so long that I was like,
that's the only problem with it, is it's very long and drawn out. Like, not just that the episodes are like, even without commercials, the episodes can be up to an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
But like, there's so a lot of episodes where nobody goes home. And they were like, there's some kind of twist where no one goes home. So it's like every season is 26 episodes. Yeah. And it's like, it's a lot. It's a commitment. But it's really, really great storytelling. Like, they've really mastered the storytelling aspect.
I was going to say, I do appreciate that. I feel like I got to know the people a lot more in depth on those in what I've seen of Australian Survivor. Like, because you spend so much more time with them, obviously. Yeah. That's just how it is.
And then the current UK Survivor that's airing is
this the first season that they've ever done it?
No, they did 2 seasons of UK Survivor back in the early 2000s, like when the show was at the height of its popularity. And the first season was all right, the second season was not good. And this season is just it's really, really, it's just awkward to watch.
I just watched the trailer today because I was just looking up stuff, and I was like, I was like, because they were building it like it was a first season of them ever doing it.
It's like they're rebooting of the series for them, but it's not their first season, but it's not good. It's played. They're trying to edit it too much like all of the other UK shows that they do now, which is like really flashy editing and in all like the top 40 pop music playing over scenes, and the host is just constantly trying to be funny.
Ew.
Like, he's just always trying to slip a one-liner in there, and it's just so awkward and horrible to watch. They don't.
Is it
you don't
dry
know
humor
anything.
like the British, or is it like?
No, he's trying to be very outwardly funny.
Oh, I don't like that.
And it's like, they just hit the merge. It's 2 episodes into the merge, and I still feel like I don't know any of the contestants on the show.
Well, I'm not
gonna. I know nothing about any of them.
Well, I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Are you watching The Amazing Race this season?
Oh God, which one? There's 3 different Amazing Races on right now.
The American one.
I've been stockpiling it, and I want to go back and watch it, but I've been having each week consecutively spoiled for me.
Oh no, I haven't seen the last 2 episodes, but it's been generally pretty good this season.
I watched the first 2, and I just honestly I didn't like the cast. I found the cast to be very bland.
There's a couple teams I like. I there's a deaf dad and his son who
Yeah.
I really like him. I hope that team goes far.
I haven't been a huge fan of the Amazing Race for a while because I tend to find it's the same thing as Big Brother now for me. It's like I really like it in the early stages when there's a lot of players, but what happens is all of the players that are really entertaining to watch all get kicked out early because they're so boisterous and they have nothing to them other than being characters. They have no discernible talent on the shows. So then you get to the end and it's just like a whole bunch of like people who I just couldn't give a shit about. And it's become such a slog trying to watch it. Like this season of Big Brother was so amazing. Suri Fields from Survivor was on it with her son. It was like, and just that alone was like, holy shit, this is gonna be amazing. And then like once it hit the jury portion of the series, it was just kind of like it became so obvious who was going to win. The same two people just kept winning every challenge, and it was just like, it's just boring now.
That's fair. That's one reality show I never really got into, Big Brother. I don't know why. It just never hit it for me. Is there any other, while we're still talking about reality TV, is there anything else out there that people should be watching?
The Traders. The Traders.
What is that
100%.
show? I've seen commercials for it, but I don't understand what they're talking about.
It basically it was just came out last year. It was originally released in Australia. And after the reception of the first Australian season, New Zealand started their own version of it. The UK started, the US started one. Canada is currently, it's actually airing right now. I'm going to watch it as soon as we get off here. I think it's the finale tonight too. But basically they invite 20 contestants, half of whom are like famous, semi-famous people, like a lot of reality contestants. This season of Canada, Rick the Temp is one of the contestants. Which is amazing.
I love that you still call him Rick the Temp because he will forever
everyone
be
else
called.
does too.
Oh,
everyone
really?
else does too. But anyway, it's 20 people are brought to like this mansion to compete in a bunch of challenges to try and win money for a pot for the winners to eventually take home. But 3 of the people are randomly chosen to be traitors, and their purpose is every night they murder one of the regular contestants in the game, and in every episode, all of the contestants meet at a round table to discuss who they think the traitors are, trying to vote one of them out. So the object is for the faithfuls to try and eliminate all of the traitors from the game, and for the traitors to try and eliminate all of the faithfuls. It's a really, really ingenious show. I hate the competition aspect of it, like when they do the challenges, because it serves no purpose. It's just adding a little bit more money to the pot, but there's no influence or there's no real reason for any kind of like anyone to try and not win it.
Interesting.
So I find it just to be a boring 10-minute section of the show.
That sounds really neat.
Yeah, it's really good. First season of the Canadian one, I think, is wrapping up either tonight or next week. The US has a version coming out in January, which has Sandra and Parvati from Survivor on it. Dan Giesling, my favorite player ever of Big Brother, the only player of Big Brother I've actually met in person. CT and Johnny Bananas from The Challenge are going to be on it. Like it's a stacked cast if you're a reality TV fan.
Interesting. Any other reality shows that people? The only one that I would recommend from this year is Physical 100, which is a Korean.
Physical 100 was fantastic.
Korean reality show about strong people. It's on Netflix. Check it out.
Yeah, there's this year's been kind of like, I'm trying to think of any other ones that I've really been watching. I mean, like I love Squid Game, the new Squid Game.
I've only seen like 2 episodes.
That's been fantastic so far. Really, really compelling storytelling in that one. Especially when you get to the 5th episode, there's a big like holy shit moment in that episode where everyone is like, oh damn, like
I'm
I
not.
can't think of anything.
Yeah, I'm not a fan
other
of the,
like.
Yeah.
Oh, House of Villains is another one. Actually, House of Villains
I've never even heard of that.
So I'm a really big fan of the old like VH1 reality shows, like Flavor of Love, Rock of Love, all of those dating shows.
I remember those, yeah.
And like one of my all-time favorite, I think probably next to Survivor, my all-time favorite reality show is called I Love Money, which was a competition show featuring all of the contestants from all of those dating shows competing for money. I'm going to actually stream that someday soon. I might do it this week.
Oh my
I want to just start like doing streams where I watch like 3 or 4 episodes with people to introduce people to some of these like shows that they've never heard of.
For sure.
But House of Villains is kind of like it's trying to appeal to that old school VH1 reality subset, where what it is it's 10 of reality television's most ultimate villains. Omarosa's on it. Johnny Bananas from The Challenge. Johnny Fairplay from Survivor. Was it? If anyone knows who New York is from the Flavor of Love era, like she is one of the classic all-time reality television villains.
Oh my god!
But it's basically 10 of them just competing against each other in a bunch of challenges and voting each other out and trying to win, like be the biggest villain in television. And it's so beautifully and smartly edited. It's so fucking funny. I love every second of it. The fact that when somebody gets voted out, they literally strap them to a chair and launch them through a wall.
That's amazing. Now I just want to see that. Anyway, that's it. Watch this season of Survivor. I don't think it's pretty obvious. We're just watch it. Just watch it. This season's amazing. Will it be the best season? It's pretty up there for me right now.
Best season, no, but damn good, yes.
Damn good. Yeah, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Maybe obviously we were saying maybe we'll stream the finale. We definitely have our game of the year, our movie of the year, our TV of the year episodes coming up, and then we'll be back in the new year after that with some programming changes because I am always difficult with my schedule. That's just how it is. Anyway, thanks, Brent, for sharing some insight on Survivor. You are the person that I go to for Survivor talk because
I was just saying, thanks for like. I've been waiting for us to finally get a chance to like do an episode on Survivor, like because I always feel so like there's so many times where I feel out of place on the show where like I'm like I don't watch Star Trek, I don't like it, I never watched Dune, and the only reason I was on the Dune podcast was for that reason, to see what a newbie would think of. So like there's so many times when you guys are like going on and on and on about a lot of subjects I don't know. And now finally we hit something where I'm like, now I'm that one who will shut up. Like
which
now we've
great.
hit my wheelhouse. Reality television, horror movies, and video games. And then you can just sit back and let me run.
Did I tell you I'm finally getting through Bly Manor right now? I
haven't even done that. I want to go back and do because I heard that he got let go from Netflix.
That was before he released Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah.
It's because he got picked up by Amazon and they just were like, here, shit ton of money, and Netflix was like, okay, beautiful. I guess. But there was also this weirdness where they were like, we're not gonna bring back Midnight Club, which is weird because that show was phenomenal and it did really good numbers, and they're just like, we're not gonna bring it back. I guess the retention wasn't there, but how many people watch a scary series and then rewatch it right then?
Yeah, I mean, like Midnight Mass is one of the best television series I've ever watched, and I don't know that I could ever sit down and watch it again because it just wouldn't give me that same feeling again. But I haven't watched any of these other stuff. I haven't watched Hill House. I haven't watched Blind Manor. I haven't watched Midnight Club. I haven't watched House of Usher yet.
House of Usher may be one of the best series I've ever seen. Like, it is so good.
Is it individual, like episodic, or is it like a continuing storyline? Because I know that every episode is about one of Poe's stories.
Yeah. So
but is it like individual episodes, or do they find a way to kind of weave all of the stories together?
Let me tell you about the Fall of the House of Usher because I wanted to do a whole episode about it. So the whole season is based on his short story called "The Fall of the House of Usher," but he obviously changed it. So each of the episodes was also based on a book that he's done. So like The Raven is the last episode, and then The Telltale Heart is one of the episodes as well. But it's all interwoven in the fall of this family. It's so smart done. It's so smartly well done. And as someone who was introduced to Edgar Allan Poe when I was a teenager, when those emo times when you just really get into things like that, it was amazing seeing it done so well.
I think I might move his stuff up on my watch list. I started watching the one series, actually. They ran 2 seasons, and I guess it just got canceled. But I started watching The After Party.
Oh, they got canceled? No.
Yeah, they canceled it before season 3. I just watched the first episode of the first season. And the only thing that really like makes me want to watch it is because I have had that idea in my head for a really long time. I've always thought, wouldn't it be interesting to create a series of movies with the same cast, same actors and everything playing the same roles, but every single movie is a different genre.
It's so good.
So I'm like, when I saw that was the premise of it, I was like, I gotta watch this because this was in my head.
They were talking about the 3rd season and where it would have headed not too long ago.
Yeah, I heard like Elijah Wood was going to be on it, and
no,
they said they're shopping it around to different networks right now. As of right now, it's canceled.
So many people are comparing it to Only Murders in the Building, and I think it's way better than it. Way better.
That's another one I haven't watched yet.
It's pretty good. Anyway, we'll be back in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So good night, everyone. Thank you for coming and listening to us listen to Brent talk about Survivor and me being like, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. We'll be back soon.
I'm a gusher.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you all out there for listening. We'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for us this week on Geeks with Kids. If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at podcast@geekswithkids.ca. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekswithkids. Follow us on Twitter at geekswithkidstn. Check out our pics on Instagram at geekswithkids. And you can find all of this good stuff on our website at www.geekswithkids.ca. So if you like what you hear, why don't you hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. This podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcasting app. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.